Okay, today we're going to go through the installation of a DC hardwired Intelli-Shade system. We've already installed the bracket set for an outside mount application. If you haven't watched that module, make sure that you do. That's important to get that right first, okay? We've already accomplished that step. Now we're going to install the shade system. Make sure you grab the appropriate shade system by checking the size, the measurements on the bag that the shade system is in, or the box, or both. Just to make sure that you're trying to fit the right shade into the right brackets. Okay, real important on the DC powered systems, make sure you check this idler end pin before you install. Make sure this pin is all the way out and locked into place. That gives us maximum amount of pressure to keep the shade system in the brackets. Really important, so just make sure that that's out all the way and locked. Next thing we're going to do is make sure that the motor side is installed into the bracket correctly. You'll notice here you've got colored tabs on the motor head. This is the side that should be facing down. On a DC hardwired system, your motor lead should be facing upwards. It's opposite of a battery powered system. DC hardwired systems, you want to make sure the wire is facing upwards. You should have yellow and green tabs on the bottom of the motor. Those are the mechanical limits that we're going to be using for adjustment. So what we want to do here is go ahead and get the idler end in first. I'm going to make sure that I have my motor positioned correctly. I'm going to press towards the idler end all the way. That allows me to clear over on the idler end, the motor or sub-bracket pins, and then it just slides right on, okay, to the motor pins here, this sub-bracket that has the pins on it. Make sure that motor head is tight to the fascia bracket. Okay, that's how you know that it's in there good and solid. Make sure it's not moving around here. Okay, so that's in there good. Next thing we want to do is we want to focus on cutting the wires to length. Our power wire here is actually going to be fine because I can just place the IZMC in the appropriate spot for the power lead. What I do want to do is I want to adjust the motor lead to size. So let me go ahead and take the little twisty tie off of here. Okay, and then in the process of doing this, you just want to be thinking about how you're going to route your wires and how you're going to make this a nice clean installation. So since this motor lead wire is coming out the front, what I want to do is I want to actually kind of push it towards the back so that it's tight to the wall. And that's essentially where I want it to sit. I don't know if you can see back here, but I want it to sit so that it's concealed behind the shade system. And I'll show you that with the IZMC. I then want to consider how long my motor cord is going to need to be so that it will also be in the right position for the IZMC. And I want to make sure I don't cut it too short. I do, however, want to make sure that it's somewhat taut. So I'm going to start here based on that exercise, and I'm just kind of cut this off with my wire cutters. Okay, make sure you have a pair of these. I'm going to separate the wires from one another here so I can strip the insulation off of the motor side. And about a 1/4 inch back is all you need, nothing more than that. You don't need any more to get it into the Phoenix connector. Give it a little bit of twist here. Give both sides a twist. Okay, and then what we're going to do is get these into the Phoenix connectors, and I'll show you why it's important to do that next. With your IZMC, here is your Infinity Zigbee motor controller. This is the interface. That's going to come in a little box like this. It should already have the Phoenix connectors on it. You have a power input side. It states here 24 volts DC in. Power going in this side. This is going to be your motor side. On the opposite side, this is the out going to the motor. It actually says motor 1, motor 2. Don't get confused by that. We hope to have a dual motor system or interface at some point in time. That's why the labeling is on there for 2 motors, even though right now there's only 1. So let's start with the power side first. I'm going to pop this off. And then I'm going to need to get my handy dandy little screwdriver, which I forgot. Hold on 1 second. I'll be right back. Let me grab it. Make sure you have a little screwdriver here with a small flathead. These are fairly tiny on these Phoenix connectors. I'm going to get up here, I'm going to go ahead and connect my power. It doesn't matter as far as the polarity is concerned because the system itself will automatically adjust for that. So you don't need to be concerned about that at all. So just tighten it up. And again, with these Phoenix connector, it's best when you put the wires in and as you're tightening, have the screw heads facing upward, okay? Make sure it's nice and tight. That one's good. Next thing we're going to do is take the motor side Phoenix connector off the IZMC. You don't need to worry about the polarity on that side either. Again, make sure your screw heads are up. Make sure these are open enough to get them in here. Slide them in. Screw them down. And then you're going to be in a good position to set your motor limits and work with your IZMC very easily now that you have the Phoenix connectors on both ends. What we want to do that's going to be very, very helpful, this is our next phase, which is setting the limits. We're going to take a slight break and we'll be back for that module.